If you were a lowly TSA agent who had been coasting through life all because he was protecting his old man for stealing a few bucks from the till and just found out your wife was pregnant and decided today was the day you're going to do it, you're going to walk into your boss's office, give him a speech, and say, I want a damn promotion, only to actually get said promotion and immediately get put into the terrorist situation against midlife crisis dad and Sam Crow Judas. What would you do? If that sounds like the plot to some McBain movie from The Simpsons, then all I can say to you is clearly you haven't been paying attention to Netflix's release schedule as of late. So let's step inside one of the busiest places in the United States of America, the LAX, while we open up a file on the new Netflix movie, Carry On. This review is going to have major spoilers for the plot, so let's get that BS aside. If you want to watch this movie without knowing what's going on and what's going to happen in the end, as if you wouldn't already know, but you want to be saved exactly how it gets there, then I'd suggest you borrow someone's Netflix password or possibly find some other disreputable website with the same loose morals as yourself and enjoy it there. Then come back here and find out all the ways Ethan fucked up and missed perfect opportunities to get both he and his pregnant girlfriend out of harm's way. We all set? Good. Then let's get into this mid-octane curb buster of a movie. Ethan is your basic breeze through life doing the bare minimum kind of guy, so basically, he's me and about several million other people in this country perfectly on the fence about living life day to day. And he just found out his girlfriend Nora is pregnant, and he's trying to figure out what to do with his life. And while his girlfriend tells him to reapply for the police department because she believes the second time's a charm, Ethan has other plans on his mind. So he writes up a speech, steps to his boss, and finally says he wants to be put on an x-ray machine.
Wow. 10 minutes late to the meeting, and you're asking for promotion. Let me see your speech. Yeah, no.
And when I tell you, the moment he turns on that machine, he's immediately contacted by Agent Zoyle, fresh off his last mission to capture a little green alien. He sends him a message via text. He's telling Ethan to put in some random earbud he found on a germ-filled loose item bucket. I got news for you. That's how you get COVID. So Zoyle tells Eggsy he's gonna let a package through, or else his girlfriend's gonna get got by a high-caliber powered sniper rifle. And wouldn't you know it, our man Eggsy didn't have that on his holiday x-ray bingo card.
Contraband bingo is live.
Meanwhile, elsewhere, our movie's protagonist detective, who would rather be working than living life just like the rest of her co-workers, is getting teed up on the case that involves some nerve gas from the Russians. Those crazy Russians, they do love their nerve agents. Elena here finds an ATF bug in a burnt up fake Rolex and just happens to know someone who can get the last bits of recording so she can get clued into the next part of the puzzle. With the help of Google autocorrect, that is. This has got to be the one and only time autocorrect has ever done anything great. Meanwhile, Eggsy is getting better acquainted with Zoyle and learning all he can from listening to this guy literally eat chips in his ear. Ethan tries to call 911 but gets caught by Juice. Ethan's figured out he's being watched but hasn't realized it's the cameras. Not until his plan to send a text via his Apple Watch gets spoiled as well. So Zoyle tells him to put the mother flippin' watch in the drawer right next to his phone. Okay. Here's where I had to stop the movie and realize we are past the point of no return. As far as I can tell, this is where I'd begin to gamble with a few lives rather than possibly hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent lives. Look, I may not like people, but I also don't like terrorist events. Considering I've been working in security for way too long at this point. You'd never believe how much training we actually go through on a month-to-month basis. In a situation such as this, a halfway decent TSA agent should have been able to pick up on plenty of context clues just like I did in the moment. Granted, I'm a little more cavalier when it comes to negotiations like this. However, for devil's sake, let's point out the multiple reasons as to why Eggsy here had nothing to be afraid of from jump. The biggest clue
If it's any consolation, you are not my first choice. You're not where you're supposed to be today, but that is okay. To be honest, it makes my day a little easier.
From my point of view, this means you had to pivot when you saw someone new sitting at this machine, meaning you planned on doing something to my friend's family, but now have moved on to me. The next clue, even though you have an entire family you could take hostage, you only seem to be interested in my girlfriend, and you made it a point to tell me what kind of sniper rifle you have at my girl's head, even though nothing in my psych profile that you seem to have tells you I should know anything about guns. So, you're overreaching in that scare department. And the biggest clue of all, you're panicking. You're talking fast, you sound flustered when I called 911.
Hang up now, or Nora dies.
What did you just say?
Right now, my people have a Barrett M82 sniper rifle at her head. Hang up the call,
911, what's your
or we
emergency?
execute your girlfriend. Your pregnant girlfriend over at Northwind Operations.
Hello, is anyone there?
I told you, this is how it goes.
And the final straw that would have me picking up my phone, staring right into the camera and calling 911, you gave me a third strike far too early. See, now you're on my crunch time, and I do my best work under pressure. By backing me into a corner like this, you make me realize there is absolutely no way I personally come out of this okay. Either my life is over and my family is screwed, or my family is over and I'm a hero. So the way I see it, at this point I have a 50-50 chance of winning this game of chicken. After putting all that together in the first 10 minutes of you speaking with me, I'm going to have to call your bluff. And if I don't hear gunshots by the time I start speaking, I'm looking for whoever's panicking while I tell the operator everything that's going on. And with that said, I think Carry On was beaten. I'm sorry, that is the completely wrong channel. Ethan tries to secretly tee up the cop Leo about the situation by using the Tide stick to write on a claim ticket, which Leo uses his black light pen that was given to all TSA agents at the beginning of the day shift. However, Zoil has a plan to cause a heart attack and take out that threat immediately. Now it's time for the inevitable talk between the bad guy and the good guy. Except Ethan is basically intimidated into backing down, not realizing more and more of this guy's hand is being played as they speak. However, thanks to this heart attack incident, now Jason is back on the machine, putting Ethan into a position where he can only get his friend fired in an effort to ensure both Jason's family and his pregnant girlfriend are safe. Ethan pulls off a spectacular move that if this situation goes down any other way than what he wants it to, he is definitely going to be considered an accomplice to this situation. And how does he go about accomplishing this spectacular move? Spiking his friend's drink and sending an anonymous text about drinking to the job boss. Ethan gets to the scanner machine just in time for our guy with the case to finally make his appearance in a red hat. Meanwhile, our detective Elena gets Homeland Security involved since they'd be the best to handle this situation. Thankfully, she puts out an APB on all persons of interest within the airport at this time, which thankfully our man in the van, Juice, isn't able to pick up on the internal chatter between security and TSA. Ethan dismisses himself to the bathroom to understandably puke his brains out from the sheer mounting problems he seems to have gotten himself into, and all he wanted was a promotion to provide for his family. Meeting him in the bathroom for a second chat, Zoil tells Ethan that he's not a terrorist.
I'm not a terrorist killed for religious or political or social objectives.
Which, if you look up the definition of terrorism, you'll find that this guy is completely full of shit and only half right and conveniently ignores the fact that what he is really doing is for social and political gains. Ethan is realizing his only chance to get the red hat guy on the list of potential suspects. He uses his boss's key fob to enter Mateo Flores into the system just in time. I will say, Eggsy here is pulling off some daring moves here that can any point get his entire day shut down and a bullet to the head of Nora. And now we get to the good part. Time for Ethan to run like Tom Cruise because Zoil found out about the bag check due to it being announced over the PA. And when you know it, Juice got into position in the perfect time and the perfect place to get a red dot on the forehead of Nora, which stops Eggsy dead in his tracks. Meanwhile, Nora is acting completely oblivious to the fact that Ethan is pulling her frantically and begging her to come with him. Why, in this day and age of women stating how they are ride or die women, would someone still remain pure and calm and decide they are going to enforce a conversation about whatever they want rather than following your boyfriend who is clearly acting out of character? Now, Eggsy just has to walk away while she stands there with a damn dot on her forehead acting stupid. God only knows how she got the promotion she has in the first place. Someone this self-absorbed shouldn't be having children, if you ask me. Ethan gets a visit from Zoil yet again, this time with fists and feet on the menu. However, during this little scuffle, Eggsy manages to secure the gun to threaten him with to disarm the bomb. But Zoil, one step ahead, instead activates the bomb with a 10-minute timer. Now it's time for some real choices to be made here, as Eggsy has to somehow get to the bomb and deactivate it without killing his boss. However, don't worry about that because Mateo's got you covered, and he doesn't know anything about this guy, so he ends up killing him for Ethan, that way to ensure the safety of his husband who Juice has tied up in his van. In movie terms, this keeps the protagonist's hands clean and set up poor Mateo here for the future we already know is coming. At this point, Cuffy is headed to the airport and finds out the guy she's riding with that Homeland supposedly sent over is apparently a fake, and one hell of an action scene takes place inside the car. I gotta say, it sucks such a scene was wasted on a straight-to-streaming movie because no one who is important is going to see it and give it an award. But I guarantee you, someone is going to rip this scene off and call it their own. But that aside, Cuffy gets the quick draw kill on the guy after the car comes to a stop upside down. Cut back to Eggsy listening to Zoil on the other end, who is walking him through how to disarm the bomb properly. And I'll be goddamn if he doesn't get it done with only 2 seconds left to spare. Typical movie trope ensues. Now it's time for Zoil to turn into the Joker because he orders Mateo to take out Eggsy. This alone giving credence to my earlier conclusion of none of us pawns are getting out of this alive. And Eggsy does the honorable thing, trying his best to get Mateo to stop trying to kill him with the plastic gun he swiped from Zoil earlier before it blows up. Oh well, guess that takes care of the guy who killed the boss. Thankfully though, Eggsy gets a message out to his wannabe rapper co-worker Eddie to sound the alarm on the terrorism possibly happening and to ready Teddy and get Nora out to safety. Meanwhile, as retaliation, Zoil decides to put a hit out on Nora before breaking into the baggage area, and there is literally no one down here. What the actual fuck? No one heard that gunfight or these two tumbling down the belts just a minute ago? Just piles of luggage everywhere? No wonder your luggage gets lost so much. I assume they fall off the belts and someone comes along and just puts it in the corner and waits for some magic fairy to come along and whisk it away to lost luggage land. Eggsy decides to discreetly switch the bombs from one bag to a much bigger one and decides that he is now his own man and ditches the earpiece. So Zoil grabs the bomb and destroys the earpiece. But Cuffy is hot on their heels and asks they shut down the planes in Terminal 7. But the traffic control tower is controlled by yet another brother of Captain Carmine Lorenzo.
Gonna dust it down.
I swear, this guy's family must be massive, and all of them refuse to do anything to help any kind of terrorist situation come to an end peacefully.
Hey, you can't talk to me like that.
Never mind the fact that you have a detective running around your airport asking you to shut shit down.
But I'm not shutting down LAX and grounding 300 planes on Christmas Eve without a direct call from Homeland.
So Juice is now chasing Nora in a plumbing van through the pickup and drop-off lanes of the LAX, and no one seems to notice this happening. Somehow Nora ends up getting hit by someone else in a car, knocking her out of the way and crashing the van. This is where the movie becomes absolutely unbelievable to those of you who like to pick and choose what you want to suspend your disbelief for. Nora gets away, breaking the bottle over Juice's head, and finally yells, only for Eggsy to be the only one to hear her out of everybody in the airport. And while he's about to take the bullet from Juice, he's saved by Mateo's husband, who broke free due to the crash and used the sniper rifle for the last minute play. Eggsy finds out where the bomb is really going from Mateo's husband and lets Cuffy know they're shutting down the wrong terminal. But they can't shut down the current terminal because Zoil would just set off the bomb at ground level, still killing his target. Eggsy says he's going to disarm the bomb bomb himself. So it's time for some Tom Cruise traversal. Cue the goddamn music. He gets himself onto the flight by climbing in through the storage bay. Once Eggsy opens up the case and turns the bomb to manual mode is when Zoyle realizes he needs to get his ass into the cargo hold to stop Ethan, and somehow ends up slipping past the flight attendants to go into the hold and stop Eggsy from disarming the bomb completely. But thankfully, The Rock must be one of Eggsy's favorite movies, but he takes a page out of Stanley Goodspeed's books and uses his own chemical weapon against Zoyle after vacuum sealing him in the fridge, which I wasn't aware was a thing on a plane, therefore saving the entire day. Of course, you might also ask yourself, why didn't Zoyle just pull out his gun and shoot through the glass? Don't know. Who cares? Eggsy won the day. And it all ends happily ever after with a trip to Tahiti with his new son and his pal Jason and his family. And looks like our boy Ethan is sporting some new metal courtesy of the LAPD. I'm not gonna lie, this movie had me on the edge of my seat and definitely invested in Eggsy's plan all the way through. It's important to know this movie is in fact a movie and not going to be perfect all the way. Because the fact at any point in this movie, if those specific parts didn't happen, the entire plan for the bad guys could have gone off the rails. But that's the point of any movie like this, and I honestly would include this in my Die Hard trilogy any Christmas. And honestly, I can see our boy Ethan here in multiple movies dealing with situations not too dissimilar from those of John McClane himself. I mean, think of it. Carry On 2, My Wayward Son. Netflix, call me if you need someone to punch up that script. And with that said, I'd obviously recommend this one to anyone who wants that die-hard Christmas fix without all the quips. And that's all I have for you today. If you want to talk about it, then you hit me in the comments section below. This is the SOC. I've been Agent 95, and always remember, I see you.